Oh, I have to. Are people coming in?
Yeah, we're all in.
Oh, here we go.
Hello,
Everybody.
Hello.
Welcome.
We're going to give everybody a couple of more minutes and then we will get started with the interview.
It's a big reveal.
That's right.
Good evening.
Good evening, Wieners. How you doing?
The studio audience has arrived. The studio audience has just filtered in.
That's right.
Studio audience. There's more than people like Stephen Colbert can say.
Right, exactly. We actually have a real live audience.
Yeah. We're recording it.
So let's give it until one more minute, 7:03, and then we'll get started.
Perfect. Maxine, how are you? How's your day?
Evan, hi, sweetheart.
No complaint.
Good to see you, Evan.
Hi, Maxine.
Hello, it's so nice to see everyone. Okay,
Hi.
7:03.
Hi, everybody.
So we have a program scheduled and we're going to follow our schedule of doing the program, and then we will save some time at the end for questions and chit-chatting. So I think we'll get started, and my task is to interview Rabbi Teller about, it's the first time I've ever interviewed a rabbi before.
Yes.
And I'm very excited about the opportunity, so thank you. And the goal is for Rabbi Teller to help us get excited about this year's high holidays and talk to us about how to make it meaningful and high holiday-like in these special circumstances. So I've tried to prepare some questions. Some are softballs, some are zingers, you will see. And we hope, and there are a couple of them that that I've told Rabbi Teller about, and a couple of them that I haven't. So we're gonna get started, and there will be a joke involved at some point, but let's get started with our task. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts recently, and whenever there's an interview, it always starts this way. Rabbi Teller, how are you?
Thank you so much for asking, Maxine. First of all, thank you for conducting this interview and for your time and energy. You come highly recommended. Apparently you've done this before in the book fair and other community programs. So thank you for being here and sharing your expertise and your self with us this evening. What was the question again?
How are you?
All right, thank you.
But it's a real how are you. It's not, we don't want I'm fine. It's a real how are you?
Yeah.
We got here is
bittersweet. The bitterness is the empathy and pain I feel for all the sickness in the world. The world is sick, and so that's a dark place. And so that's how am I? I'm in pain at some level, and that's personally. Professionally, in terms of our synagogue institution, quite inspired. The new technology, the way our community has risen and united and is on a trajectory towards a sacred and holy Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I'm filled with optimism and enthusiasm. So that's the sweet. So it's a really strange place, and my family is healthy and well. So I guess the answer is I'm doing fine.
Thank you. So this is sort of the burning question that I've been thinking about every Shabbat, and now as we approach the high holidays where Rosh Hashanah is, Erev is Friday night and first day is Saturday morning. So is there a loophole that is allowing us to use all of this technology? how do we reconcile being plugged in with not being plugged in for the holiday?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. For a long time, for all of our lives, right, when we see a cell phone in shul, and many of us traditionalists sort of cringe and recoil in horror. So how is it that we made such a quick turnaround that we're now encouraging people to be on technology on Shabbat? There's a legal answer and a spiritual answer. So the legal answer is quite early in the pandemic, a few weeks in, it was determined by the Rabbinical Assembly and the Committee of Jewish Law and Standards that this was what people call, what the rabbis call an emergency situation, a time of emergency, a sha'at hadchak, a communal crisis, in this case, a global crisis. And certain leniencies can be enacted when you're undergoing a global crisis, a sha'at hadchak. And this was one of them. The Rabbinical Assembly said we're permitting the use of electronics to facilitate prayer. And so that was a decision that was made early on. Lots of guidance on how to use it, when to use it, how to make the settings as Shabbat appropriate as possible. All in all, it's pretty tough to follow those guidelines. And that's where the spiritual answer comes in, which is I was extremely reluctant to get online for Shabbat. I was comfortable with live stream, which is kind of a one-way projection. So I'll do my thing on the Bima, and I happen to be broadcast to everybody. That was my comfort zone for a long time, ever since we started live streaming. That we sort of in the background, but we don't pay it much attention. But Zoom is a whole nother level of technological engagement. And so it took me a couple weeks to embrace the Sha'at Hadchak. Here's the moment that I did. When I read an article about the loneliness of the pandemic and the suicide rates rising because of the loneliness of the pandemic, then I was convinced and persuaded that it was indeed a global pandemic with pikuach nefesh, with saving life, with life-saving capability. And so even though we're not saving lives on a regular basis, I think the idea of community connection is an emergency red light moment right now, and that's how I crossed the boundary into using technology on Shabbat.
And that leads me to sort of how do we do it in a way that makes it feel like we're in services? So for instance, typically I sit when I'm in my Zoom meetings, and it feels weird to stand for certain prayers and things. What do you recommend we do to make the high holidays not feel like we're in a committee meeting or something like that?
Yeah, good. All right, so how do we set up as a user, that's the question, right? As a user, how do we feel like it's a sacred space?
Yes,
yeah?
Thank you.
Yeah, and
both our space and then our actions, what we do. So
right. So I personally have had some very deep prayerful moments on Zoom, and where do they come from? I think they come from a combination of being together and seeing that gallery view, and being part of a community, maybe not in space, but in time, and we can talk about that later, that we're traveling through this realm of time together in a real way, right? We're visual people. Humans are particularly visual. We have really good eyesight, right? And so we're accustomed to using our visual stimulation to define where we are, our location. But there's another way to do it, which is using an emotional space, right? And using time. We're actually traveling through the same time the way we always have, except instead of sitting right across from me, you're sitting right there, right? Sort of in my computer, right? So there is a way to transcend the challenge of the space division. And so that's the technique that I've been using successfully to remember that there's a real person who I'm talking to. You're still Maxine, even, right? You're just not in 3D, you're in 2D or whatever that means. Right? And so there's a way I think, to use our communication in more deeply than we do for our regular casual business meetings.
And do you think that our prayers, you know, you always tell us that our communal prayers are much stronger than our individual prayers? I hope I said that right. But
Yeah.
Is that right even if we're on Zoom and we're praying together?
Yeah, so very early on, people ask me the question, is this really prayer, or are we sort of, you know, just faking it or just sort of simulating prayer? And no, this is really prayer for me. And the halacha, the legal aspect is as long as you can see each other and hear each other over the internet, right? So it can't be a phone call, it has to be a visual connection. And right, and we should have the capability of hearing each other. We can be unmuted and unmuted, but the potential, the capability for hearing each other ought to be there in order to constitute a minyan in conservative Jewish law. And so, yeah, we work together I think there is an element of communion over the internet. And also, here's a tip, you can turn off your video, you know, during the Amidah or at points where you'd like to focus and don't want people to be looking at you. Turn off your video, stop video and pray as you wish, right? And that could mean sitting in meditation, and that can mean standing in prayer, and it can mean stretching or yoga or whatever, right? Helps you make that connection. And so you have a little more freedom at home than you would in synagogue to explore your own creative connections with God and the universe and spirituality and soul.
And do you recommend that we change our physical space? In other words, are you going to create a different space for yourself for Rosh Hashanah, or should it just be our typical home space?
Yeah, good. The environment that we create for ourselves, the situation, the physical space that we create around ourselves heavily influences the state of mind that we're going to be in, right? And I believe powerfully in the connection of body and mind and soul. And so to put your body in a space that's comfortable and pleasant and sacred is going to be a really important step for getting the most out of our holidays this year. So as soon as this call is done, scan your home for a comfortable place that you want to declare your prayer space for high holidays. And you know, your favorite chair to sit in, right, and get a cup of coffee, right, and have a table next to you and prepare yourself for the high holidays as if you're going to go to synagogue, or as if you're going to go somewhere, right? And so I think it's very important, just like the way we do for the Amidah, right? We take 3 steps back and 3 steps forward to put ourselves physically in a new space. And so that's going to be important for high holiday viewing also, is to make sure that you designate a sacred space in your home for the viewing to happen.
And that brings me to clothing. So typically, I buy, or not always, but often I'll buy new clothes for the high holidays. That's what people do.
Yes.
Should we, shouldn't we? I mean, it's an odd time to be shopping and buying. And how do we make comfortable choices about that while still making the holiday special? And can you remind us about wearing white on Yom Kippur? Why we do that? Should we do that? Just talk to us about clothing.
Good, thank you. Yeah. So as you can see this evening, I put on a nice button-down shirt and
Right?
yeah, a nice pillow behind me, right? Because right, I wanted to step up for this moment. It's a public moment, and right, and wanted my dress to match the gravity of the moment. I've been thinking about this moment, and right, and so my wardrobe reflects that I'm putting some care and some energy into preparation for this moment. And for me, right, it felt good to go through that process. So I'm getting ready for this big moment. And so I think that's one of the kavanot, one of the purposes, intentions of wearing nice clothes on Rosh Hashanah is for ourselves, right? It allows ourselves to prepare. Like when we put on a uniform in a locker room before we hit the field, or we do our stretches before, our vocal warm-ups before an opera performance. Right? That routine of getting preparation routine is part of the success of the experience. And so, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend, well, I don't know, is it good for the economy now? I guess to stimulate the economy. So yeah, sure, if you can afford it, please go get some new clothes online, of course, to avoid contact. And but also, you just reach into your closet and find something nice. Yeah, I would recommend simulating the high holiday experience as you might going to shul. And that's what we've done. The connection here to another question that I expect is coming is we've tried to take that philosophy and approach for the services that we're going to be preparing and inviting everybody to, is to, as much as we can, to simulate the kind of feel of a typical high holidays. So we wanted to make sure that we get that in there, to get that routine and that familiarity. And so I think the clothing that we wear will add to the familiarity and the routine and the success.
So that brings us to the question that you're probably anticipating, which is, should we expect the familiar structure of the service where the Torah service happens when it typically does, and we should expect to see someone taking out Torahs? What are services going to be like this year?
Thank you. So before I answer that, Vicky reminds me that I missed the white. Yes, about the white.
Oh yes, thank you, Vicky.
Yes, the white is the purity. The white is the helps us remind ourselves of what our job is for the high holidays, right, which is to achieve that state of purity that God blesses us with. Eloheinu Shemata, God, it says in the morning prayers, the soul that you've put inside my body is completely pure. Elohai neshama shnatata bi tehorahi. Thank you, God, for this beautiful, pure soul. Normally, when we think about the soul, we think about conflicted soul. Torture. The evil inclination and the good inclination. We have to choose, wrestle with ourselves, and choose the good. But this is a different take. That in Jewish tradition, our soul is pure, right? And so that's what we're doing in Yom Kippur, is trying to get back to that purity, to wash away all that brokenness and filth and just dust that's gathered on our soul, and shake that off and return to our white state of purity. So that's a metaphor for me that works. Back to the high holidays. What's going to happen this year? Oh my God. All right, so the mornings are simpler than the evenings. The mornings, what we try to do is sort of recreate the general population influx into shul. Right? And so what that means is there's a 9 o'clock crowd, and there's a 10 o'clock crowd, and an 11 o'clock crowd, right? And all three services are sort of different, right? And we've never really acknowledged that, right? So
I'm glad we're just saying it. I'm glad we're getting it out there. It's time.
For years, decades, that we've been, this hidden secret of Jewish life is that no one comes at the beginning of services. So why do we start when no one comes? That's another mystery. So hey, we've been in this sort of game for a while, but so this gave us the opportunity to really delineate and differentiate between different needs and different crowds. And so what we've set up is 3 different services, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. And there are 3 different characters. So the first one, as you might imagine, is going to be casual and traditional, and using the incredible nusach passed down from generation to generation. That's going to be a Zoom call in which, much like this one, where we have a davener at home davening, just like we do on Shabbat. So it'll be a Zoom-based davening, which will also be broadcast on live stream on our website. So you can watch it either way. You can watch it, you can be a full participant on Zoom, or you can watch it as an observer sort of on the live stream. So that's the 9 o'clock service. Casual broadcast from a volunteer's home. I'm doing Martin Kagan's doing the first day, I'm doing the second day. Usual cast of characters will be davening for the 9 a.m. early service. 10 o'clock is the Torah service. The Torah service is also going to be a Zoom-based call in which we're going to have Torah readers and Aliyot, and it's going to be a beautiful, chaotic miracle. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, is we're going to say, okay, the first Aliyah, unmute yourself. Okay, ready, Baruch Hu, and they're going to say Baruch Hu, and so we're going to make our way through the Torah service. We thought this was a really important community aspect of our service, to honor our leaders and to have our Torah read by our Torah readers who read it so beautiful each and every year. And so we're going to retain that tradition with a 10 a.m. Torah service on Zoom, also available through the live stream on our website. So far, so good?
Well, I did have a question. I'll follow up. Will we be singing in it? You said that we will be sort of watching. Will we be singing and unmuting and participating in any parts of those services?
Good question, yeah. So we've been exploring, on Shabbat morning, we've been exploring with a couple different models, and we've really come to a place where we feel like it's working quite beautifully. Which is to say that people feel like, right, so after Shul 2 Shabbatot ago, one of our participants, we have a little schmoozing at the end, which we'll do during the high holidays also. We'll do a little schmoozing after the services. Somebody said, I just looked around and realized I was in my apartment. I thought I was in Shul for the past 2 hours, meaning they were really transported into this new platform in a meaningful way. And so what that means is, yes, you're muted for most of it. Just like tonight, I hope people feel like we're part of an event. Right? And so we feel like there's a difference. Through our experimentation and anecdotally, we've figured out that, and through the national scene, people feel, it feels like you're part of a community when you're on Zoom, more poignantly than you do when you're on a live stream. So that's where we've experimented and ended up.
What should people do? I'm looking at who's on the call, and it's a pretty good mix of different age groups and different sort of interests. But let's talk about people with little kids. So
before we go there, so it's a 9 o'clock service, the 10 o'clock, the 11 o'clock service.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. The 11 o'clock service is our big main sanctuary service. Right, so we have a 9 o'clock morning service, 10 o'clock Torah service, 11 o'clock is going to be our big main sanctuary service, where David Crone is going to be leading us, and Charlie will be on the piano, and we've set up the sanctuary so that the three of us, Charlie, David, and I, will be in the sanctuary. Charlie will be on one side, and David will be in the middle, and I'll be on the other side. And we have a crew of Tim Leatherwood and Donnie Roisman and some other folks who are going to help us broadcast from the sanctuary. And so we have cameras and lights and microphones in there, and we're going to have readers come up to the bima, but instead of coming to the bima, they're going to come into the broadcast on Zoom. And then, so it's pretty complicated stuff. And we have our first rehearsal tomorrow to test all the equipment.
Is that a good segue to the kids part?
It is.
Was that the segue? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Oh, what's that you say? What about the kids?
What about the kids?
The kids, good. So that's for the adults. That's the adult track. That 9, 10, and 11 is an adult track. For families, we have a family track. Rick Recht is going to be joining us virtually this year. He's an amazing Jewish rock star who has put together a program and offered it to synagogues. And so I videotaped a few things and sent it to Rick, and he integrated it into his service. And so we have the Rick Recht family service for the 3 major days, for Rosh Hashanah 1, Rosh Hashanah 2, and Yom Kippur. 3 different family services. And also we have, for early childhood kids, we have a fantastic up-and-coming young Jewish rock star. Nava Teller is also planning a pre-recorded service. Nava's from Nava's house party for Rosh Hashanah. And so we're using the Netflix model of streaming for youth services, which means that the services are going to debut on Rosh Hashanah, but then they'll be available for streaming anytime, anywhere.
I just want to say that, again, I'm trying to keep my eyes on the crowd to see if anyone starts falling asleep or anything like that. But I will tell you that when you mentioned Rick Recht, there was some excitement.
Yes.
But Nava Teller, the crowd sort of went wild a little bit. So I just want to point out that got a huge reaction. So please let her know that the celebrity in the house, Nava Teller.
I sure will.
So,
and the last thing to say about the kids services is one of the things that our families look forward to every holidays is more Hannah and what she does with the kids and her teaching and her wisdom and her love and affection. And so yesterday and today, she came into the shul and recorded a service, more Hannah's service for the kids. And so she's going to be on videotape also available for the kids. We are so excited. She's, as you know, she's just amazing, but it was so funny to see her become a TV star. So that's going to be some show.
So can you make suggestions for how we spend the rest of the day? Do you suggest that once we finish services, do we have a big Rosh Hashanah meal? What do we do the rest of the day? We need ideas for filling all of that time.
Right, yeah, so the first day is Friday night, Saturday, so that's kind of has a Shabbat spirit to it. And so, yes, absolutely, I would recommend preparing dinner for the family and connecting via Zoom and having family dinners over. Have you done family dinners over Zoom? Has that worked for you? Yeah, and so, yeah. So call your family and cousins and get on a big family Friday night Zoom would be beautiful. And then Shabbat morning, I'd expect people to engage with the Rosh Hashanah services, either with the kids services or the adult services or some sort of combination, and prepare a walk, prepare some time. This is a time, right, to think about what's happening this coming year. And this is a dramatic moment in people's lives. Technology is shifting, but also social mores and cultural revolutions. And there's so much happening for us to political engagement and civic engagement. There's so much going on these days that I would recommend giving some thought to what's important to you this year. What do you want to accomplish this year? What do you want to learn this year? How do you want to grow this year? What do you want to accomplish this year? This is such an amazing time. We're in this like cocoon for the past 6 months. And eventually we're going to emerge. But while we're here, let's use it to advance ourselves and to reach higher potential. So that's what I expect. So find a way to do that on Saturday. Think about it now. Think about what's important to you.
You just
Please.
listed about 5 or 6 questions, and
Yeah.
I now don't remember any of them. So maybe, because it's been a minute, so maybe you could send us some questions to think about, 5 or 6 questions to spend the holiday thinking about. That would be wonderful. Excellent.
Thank you. And then that's why I brought my pencil and paper. Sunday is shofar day. All right, so Saturday we don't blow the shofar for a variety of technical reasons, but we kind of leave the world alone on Saturday, and the shofar kind of shakes the world up. And so we save that for Sunday. On Sunday morning, we are planning a drive-in shofar blowing experience.
Ooh.
To be revealed in the next couple of days. We've been working with our medical committee and shofar blowers and trying to figure out a safe shofar blowing. And so the information will be coming out over the next couple of days. So on Sunday morning, the hope is people will engage in the online davening and also sign up for a drive-in shofar blowing. So the shofar blowing, the way it's going to work is sort of like the water show at the Dancing Waters at the Bellagio. Are you familiar with that? Okay, so like every 30 minutes, there'll be a showing, right? There'll be a blowing. And so we'll sign up for different slots and then we'll show up, drive in, right? Watch and hear the mitzvah of the shofar blowing and then drive out. And so we're gonna do several rounds of that.
So Rabbi, I have one more question before I want to open it up, but your last comment made me think of a joke. But I need Vicky, tell her for the joke, if that's okay.
Let me check with the
Okay.
rabbits.
All right.
Would you like to join us for a moment? Maxine's request. She said, fine.
For my joke. Because it was such a good segue to Sunday being shofar day. Hi, Vicky. Thank you. So here's my joke. Why, and Vicky, this is for you to answer.
Wait, do we answer this question or are we just?
Well, I'm going to tell you how to answer it. I'm terrible at joke telling, but I'll explain how you answer the joke. Okay. Why didn't the computerized shofar work on Rosh Hashanah? It's because the shul didn't buy enough. Vicky?
Why didn't the digital shofar blowing work?
Why didn't the computerized shofar work on Rosh Hashanah?
Because
It's because the shul didn't buy enough.
Oh no.
Bits,
Bytes, batteries.
It's a
storage.
shofar. This is a little bit of a date.
No.
You just said it. You just said it, Vicky. Tell her.
Ram. The shul didn't buy enough RAM. All right, good. Yes.
Didn't buy enough RAM.
Nice.
We have to make sure all the internet works. Yes,
You're a
that's
great
good.
joke teller. What are you talking about?
I see my brother on the call. If we have a lot of time at the end, ask him to do his imitation of me telling a joke, and it'll be the funniest.
That'll be during the schmooze part.
Okay, Leslie has a question or a comment, and then I have one other question for Rabbi Teller.
And then there were a couple of questions in the chat. I don't
In
know
the
if you had a
chat.
chance.
I had a different take on the joke. The shul didn't buy enough shofars, CHAUFFEURs, that the
Chauffeurs.
shul didn't buy enough cars for all the shofars.
Chauffeurs. Yeah.
Well, that's
Drive
a
for the
little
drive-in shofar blowing.
Complex, but it works. That's a whole new level. That's taking it.
thinking-
I like the RAM better.
Yeah. Okay, so my last question, and then we'll get to Zoom questions and to everyone's questions. So Rabbi, I didn't prepare you for this question, but I've just had the honor, and truly it's been an honor, of interviewing you for High Holidays. If you were able to interview one person about how he or she was going to make this set of High Holidays meaningful, who would it be and why?
If I were to interview one person about how they were going to make this, who's doing a great job of making this work? My new friend, I made a new friend, Rabbi Ariel Schulklopper. And I've studied with him a little bit over the past couple months. And we've had him at the synagogue at Zoom at noons for several sessions. And this guy, he's bringing a serious depth to his Jewish experience in the form of Jewish meditation, but the application is far beyond meditation into living a more deliberate life. And so, yeah, I'd like to spend some more time with him, sort of for my own spiritual growth, and also share it with the congregation.
That sounds great.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Okay, so in the chat, we have a couple of questions. Somebody was asking about if the Orthodox communities, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about your family in Israel, if they're applying the same Zoom loopholes.
Yeah, no. So the Orthodox community has not embraced the digital technology for davening, particularly on Shabbat. But even for a minyan, it doesn't constitute a minyan in their denomination. And so they've been pushing the envelope, right, in terms of social gatherings and trying to do the best they can under the circumstances. So in a sense, I feel kind of sad for the Orthodox community because they don't have an opportunity to explore this new landscape. That is what it is. But they've been they don't get on Shabbat or Yom Tov, and it doesn't constitute a minyan for them. So they're far from this kind of technology. And it's the experience of some Orthodox colleagues and friends has been really empty, just emptiness. And so it's a tough time for them.
And is your family in Israel, is everyone doing okay?
Yeah, Maya's thriving in Israel. She found great roommates in a great apartment. She's going to Bar-Ilan University, and she found a nice little bubble of social friends. And so that's great. And mom and dad are doing good and getting ready for the holidays. And it's gonna be a lot of home holidays for them.
And Shira is asking, what if we want to do 2 services at once? What if somebody wants to do, for example, the Rick Rect and the Shoes Time or the Torah service?
Right. Very good, yeah. So Rick, the family services are going to be streaming, and so you can watch them anytime. You can watch them in their debut hour, or you can watch them afterwards. So that's, even though it looks like a conflict on the calendar, it's not really a conflict. You do have to make some choices around shofar blowing. If you're a young family, you might want to do it later after the young family services. There'll be a 1 o'clock and a 2 o'clock for traditional folks who want to do it after the adult services. So that'll overlap a little bit with services, but people can make their choices based on their demographic of where they want to come hear the shofar blowing.
And what about teenagers? What services would you recommend?
I think a combination of highlights of the main sanctuary service, Kol Nidre, and the 11 o'clock service, I think will be appropriate for teenagers. As you know, David is magnificent, both in terms of his voice and his energy. I think he can captivate even the most cynical teenager. I have faith in it. And also Rick Rect. Rick Rect's service will extend up into the lower teenage levels, I think. So a combination of main sanctuary highlights and Rick Rect. Choir. Oh my goodness, there's so much happening. The choir, yeah, thank you. So there's Yizkor choir, oh my God. So here we go. Yeah, the choir has pre-recorded virtual pieces. They have the highlights of the high holidays are going to be available to us pre-recorded in that kind of crazy Zoom choir chorus that you've seen on Facebook, I'm sure. So our own choir did thank you to Adam and David and Charlie and all the choir members. So we're going to have some virtual choir pre-recorded performances at the 11 o'clock service, at the main sanctuary service. Right? Yizkor, we're going to do from the Bima, 11 o'clock on Yom Kippur during the main sanctuary service. The second night, Janice Rubin has been facilitating, officiating, creating just a beautiful alternative contemporary service. And so she has done that again for us this year. Lots of pre-recordings, lots of beauty. And so that's going to be the second night of Rosh Hashanah. Janice has been working extremely passionately and prepared some beautiful stuff for us to enjoy and inspire us in the high holiday season. There's so much more that I can't describe all that's going to happen. Tune in and hold on, and it'll all become clear. Yeah.
There will be a Yisker service, and then
Yisker service. Yeah.
people are asking sort of whether it will be easy to navigate among services.
Yeah, so I think there's two, for beginners, there's two tracks, I think, technologically speaking. One is easy way to go is just to, and if there's ever any trouble, you're going to have, everything's being broadcast from the live stream for adults, right? So just go on the website, click that picture, and you'll be on in terms of the live stream. Also, we'll have a schedule with all the Zoom links that will be, you'll click the Zoom link on the calendar and be transported to the service. So we'll have the Zoom links on a schedule, and that live stream always available. And also, we're going to have a hotline for, in case of emergencies, a technology hotline where our staff will be ready to answer your questions and hopefully help navigate you technologically back to our service.
Rabbi, you seem excited about these services and all that we're going to be able to do through technology. Do you feel like this is sort of a silver lining in a sense that we're able to connect in this way?
It's adapting, right? That this is the hand we're dealt this year, and it's up to us to do our best with it. And so that's part of just, I guess, my normal operating system to be able to adapt. The other is this idea of, the other reason I'm excited is the prioritization of spirit over body. When we're of spirituality over materialism. When we are in our normal situation, we have to balance body and spirit. We walk around every day in our bodies and, with our spirit. And typically, actually, our bodies get prioritized just because of who we are and all of our physical needs and demands, and body language and the way we connect with people is sort of physical energy. And I'm excited about the opportunity to explore the spirit. This is an opportunity to leave the body behind, to see if we can transcend the physical and connect spiritually. And it seems like that's going to be possible based on our Shabbatot, based on our morning minyan, based on our evening services, based on our Shiva minyanim, based on our memorial services. We have the ability to transcend space and connect through time and spirit. And so that's the exciting part for me, is it's an experiment in spirit. It's an experiment in the world of the spirit.
That's a great way for us to look at it, sort of the resilience of our spirit, and just that it is an experiment and an opportunity to explore a different dimension. And I wanted to say, I think for everyone on the call, I think it's fair to echo a note that you received from Pam Morris that says, Rabbi, I think our synagogue is doing such an amazing job through this. Thank you for your leadership. And I just wanted to take the opportunity on behalf of everyone on the call to thank you for all you've done so far to just get us through this.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for hosting the evening. There will be information coming your way, details, information about the services upcoming. Get a machzor, right? There was a machzor distribution today. There's another one on Sunday. We're encouraging everyone to get a machzor. That'll be an important part of the spiritual and physical connection, to have a book with you. And so check out how to do that on Sunday. Yeah, Vicki wants to come in for a second. Yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing. Ooh, I can hear myself talking. So all the communication that's going to come out about when the services are is going to be very clear. Like, it sounds very confusing right now because I'm listening as well, like as a congregant, and there's a lot going on, which is a great thing. But I just want to let you know that that I sometimes prove some of the publicity, and like where the office is making sure that all the communication that's going to come out about all these various services are really straightforward. You want to get on this, you either go Zoom or live stream. You want to get on this, you either go, you know, this one, just click and it's recorded and it's there for you. So I just wanted to like reassure everybody that it seems like so much, but it's actually very, there are very discrete times and services, and it'll be really clear in the communication that comes from the synagogue.
Thank you.
Just kidding.
So do you feel like we spent some time with Maxine tonight?
I do.
Yeah, so right. So we're still in relationship, even though we're, you know,
It's been great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's
my
been-
point here, right? That my sermonic point is we can do this. We can create community and relationship and sacred moments online.
And tonight was just the reveal. Tonight was just the beginning of the information. And I know we have some great things coming up this week and this weekend, and lots of opportunities for people to connect with the shul and what we're doing.
Yes, Slichot. Slichot is this Saturday night. We're connecting with USCJ nationally, so you need to register. So register today or tomorrow.
By tomorrow.
And you'll be connected with our national Slichot program with scholars from across the globe. Music, services, learning, come and join.
Really cool.
Thank you, Maxine.
Can I ask you one last question?
You may.
Do you have a favorite prayer that we sing on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, or a favorite melody? And if so, what is it and why?
Yeah. Avinu Malkeinu. Two reasons. One is the community response it elicits, right? That's where I get the tingles and end up in a cosmic space, is when everybody in the room is singing, you know, and so that's one of the reasons. And while I'm there, right, so we can still do that too, by the way. If you're muted, you can sing as loudly and as and as energetically as you can dance, you can sing, right? But you're just muted. So, but that's okay, because the energy is still there. We're still creating energy, right? But just not being able to hear it from each other, right? So that's something to keep in mind also, is we're all creating energy from our own spaces. So that's one. And then number two is the content of it, is the meaning of it. Right? Usually when we ask people to forgive us, we say, look, you know, I've put in I've banked so much value. I've done so many things for you. You know, we're so close. Please forgive me. That's where we usually ask for forgiveness from other people based on our past deeds, based on our relationship, based on, you know, I deserve, you know, after all this time, can't you find it in your heart to forgive me? But Avinu Malkeinu says the opposite. Say, we're not deserving. We don't deserve to be forgiven and given a fresh start. We're given all this. We're given all these resources and all these blessings, and we're not deserving. And so thank you, God, for allowing us to be here, even though we're not really worthy, and that we have to work to become worthy. We have to put ourselves out there. We have to extend ourselves to each other. We have to work for the betterment of the world. So we have work to do, right? We're not there yet. And so that's why the Avinu Malkeinu inspires me to go do that work for the rest of the year.
Thank you. Were there any questions that I forgot, that I didn't ask, that I should have, because you wanted to tell us something?
That part of this philosophy, this shift here, the philosophy of trying to accentuate the spiritual comes from our conservative philosophers, our conservative Jewish philosophers, Martin Buber and Heschel, right, who have always been talking about, like Buber, for example, that says break through the I, it. Right? You don't objectify people. People are, think about people as actual human beings. They're not the clerk as a clerk or the bus driver as a bus driver, but they're real people. And the same is true for Zoom. Right? This isn't just a box on your screen. This is a real person with feelings and a life, and issues. And so that's an attempt to break through the platform, the technology, soul to soul. So that's based on in the philosophy of Martin Buber. And then Heschel talks about the priority of time over space. Right? The whole world builds cathedrals and buildings, and but what do Jews do? We celebrate Shabbat. We have sacred time, and so that's following in the footsteps of Buber and Heschel. Let's accentuate that spirituality this year.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you for being so generous with your
Of course.
thoughts, and thank you, Vicki, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Nice. Maybe let's, you want to schmooze it up for a few minutes?
Absolutely. I want to know how Avi is doing in college, Shira. Not to put you on the spot, but come on.
He's doing great. I don't hear from him that much, so that means he's doing really well.
Yay.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
Rabbi Teller, did you mention there's some kind of Zoom link nationally on Saturday night for something?
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, this Saturday night is.
And has the link already been distributed? I looked through our old emails and I don't think I have it.
It went out morning and it's going out again tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the Slichot service happens the Saturday night before Rosh Hashanah, so that's this Saturday night. And yes, there is a registration link for the national program. It went out in a e-blast today, and we're going to do it again tomorrow.
Thank you.
You can contact the office. Yeah, contact the office if you have trouble.
Everything sounds wonderful. Thank you, all of you. I'm so excited. This sounds fabulous.
Stephen picked up his mock source today, and he said it was very easy and very lolly. It went very smoothly.
Yes.
So thank you for doing this. Anything you want to say to us about how to do the process?
Just start on Cedar, drive through, maybe have a little patience if we end up with a big crowd, but it went really pretty smoothly today. There are several people on the screen who volunteered today, so I want to thank you all for doing that. I want to apologize for being squirmy. I'm sore all over. It was a lot of, it was fun though. We stuffed bags and we handed out books and bags, and it was great joy in seeing everybody.
Well, thank you to
come on Sunday if you didn't come today.
Thank you. And Vicki just put the link in the chat for the Slichot registration.
Thank you. Big shout out to Rhoda for leading us through this interesting time.
Yes.
Speak up.
I had a comment and then two questions. A comment sort of following up on the reference to Nava. We had this past Shabbat a lot of family members and friends who are not members of Bris Shalom who tuned in because I was chanting the Haftorah, etc. And the biggest question I got from most people was, who is that adorable young lady who is with the rabbi? And so now Nava has a reputation outside of the synagogue. The two things and questions: are we going to have our own Slichot service in addition to the national one? And second is, during our services for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, if you're watching on Zoom, will you be able to see gallery view? And the reason I say that is, when we went to Zoom for Shabbat, to me, it was a huge difference because it was an opportunity to see our fellow daveners who were used to singing on Shabbat, and it felt more like home. And community, striving for community is so important.
Yeah. So I'll answer the second one first. Yes. So for the 9 o'clock and the 10 o'clock, they'll be based in Zoom. And so, but the 11 o'clock, the more formal service, we're going to be more sort of frontal with. So for the 9 and 10, we'll have the more community-oriented services. And then, what was the first question?
Slichot, are we going to have our own?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Slichot. So we're trying to manage our vision with reality. So originally we did have a vision for just that, for doing a local one, and then afterwards connecting with the national. Unfortunately, we didn't have the bandwidth to put together our local slichot, so we're just going to join with the national slichot. But I did the due diligence and saw some really wonderful slichot services available in addition to the classes and scholarship.
Thank you.
So I think we've been charged with going and creating, or at least thinking about creating our spaces right now. Rabbi, is that right?
Yes,
that's what we're meant to do.
Yeah, Machzor, and I'm going to follow up with some questions to think about for Rosh Hashanah conversation and for Rosh Hashanah reflection and resolve.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you, Maxine.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good to see everyone.
Great to see everybody.
Great to see everybody. Maxine, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Maxine. Thank you, Rabbi.
Good to see everybody. Hope to
Nice
see
job, you guys. Hi, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Hi, Mom. You made it on. Yay. Hi, Elaine.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Fred, you show up at the end, huh? You're muted. You can't hear you, you're muted.
Okay, am I on mute?
You're unmuted. Fred's muted.
Okay.
And I think Maxine left.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to leave too. How about you?
I was hoping to talk to Fred, but he can't unmute himself.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
I'm on mute.
There you go. Good job.
Here I am.
Good.
Sherry, are you all right?
I'm good. Thank
No,
you.
no, are you sure?
Yes. Why?
No. No, you look wonderful.
Thank you. I miss
I was
seeing
trying-
y'all.
Is Elaine K. Keller still there?